Welcome back to Trends Recapper. In this video, we're going to follow the story of a couple that adopts a little girl who is not as innocent as she looks. Without giving too much away, I think you're going to want to stick around until the end to see what happens. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and join me for the ride. Kate and her husband John go to the hospital because Kate is about to give birth. John stays behind to sign her in while she is being wheeled away. Kate starts to bleed right away. She wakes up in a surgery room with doctors and nurses around her, but her husband isn't there yet. When the nurse tells her that her baby has died, the whole thing seems strange and scary to her. Kate doesn't think it's true. John comes in and starts filming the birth like nothing is wrong. The baby is given to her by the nurse. Kate is yelling, and then all of a sudden she wakes up in her bed. She stands up and walks to the bathroom while looking at the scar on her stomach. She swallows a pill. The next day, Kate goes to psychotherapy, where Dr. Browning tells her that it's normal to have nightmares like those after a traumatic event like a stillbirth. Kate isn't sure if the dream was about that or the fact that she's going to adopt a child soon. She is worried that she may not be ready. Kate tells her therapist that she was thinking about buying some alcohol. Browning tells her that what matters is that she didn't end up buying any. The therapist tells her that she has to decide whether or not to go through with the adoption in the end. Kate goes to school to get her deaf daughter Max. She is driving home, but she almost has an accident when she isn't paying attention when she moves from a stoplight. Later, Kate is seen writing music and playing the piano. When she hears a noise that bothers her, she goes outside and sees Max throwing a basketball at the wall. She tells her to stop, and the child says she's sorry. John brings their son Daniel home with him, and the three of them play with a basketball. Max asks Kate to read her a story as she puts her to bed that night. The child who died is the focus of the story. Max asks if she's going to get a new sister. Kate takes another pill before she goes to bed. When she and John get into bed, they talk about the adoption. She made her choice, and they will stick to it. They are then seen jumping into an orphanage sometime later. Sister Abigail is there to greet them and tells them to take a look around. John goes to the second floor, while Kate stays on the first floor to watch the little girls play. He walks into the room where Esther is painting because he hears a girl singing. As Kate and Abigail walk into the room, she tells him an amazing story about the painting she's making. John tells them about each other, and the three of them keep talking. The girl says that because she is different, no one has ever talked to her before. They like her, it seems. They tell Abigail that they want to adopt Esther. She tells them that she is from Russia and that the people who brought her to the US died in a house fire. But Abigail thinks the girl is great all around. Kate agrees. They pick her up from the orphanage 3 weeks later and say goodbye to Abigail. Kate shows Esther how to sign in the car. Max is happy to see them when they get to the house. Esther immediately says her name and asks Kate how well she can hear. She says that she can just hear enough to be able to read people's lips. Grandma Barbara and Daniel are waiting for them inside. That night, everyone gives her gifts to welcome her, except Daniel, who seems already jealous of the girl, especially when she gives John a big hug of thanks. Daniel and his friends go outside to the tree house and look at dirty magazines. Esther and Max play in the snow while Barbara and Kate talk about Max and her plans to start teaching again once Esther is settled. Barbara seems to feel disappointed in Kate. Kate is getting ready for bed that night as a storm is coming. After waking up, Esther goes to Max's room. When John and Kate are making out, two girls come to the door and ask to sleep in their bed. Esther wants to sleep by John's side. The next morning, when they were all getting ready to leave for school, Esther came down the stairs in a fancy dress, which made the other kids laugh. Kate wants to make sure that Esther really wants to wear that to school, but Esther tells her that being different isn't a bad thing. Kate gives it to her to wear. Later, as her teacher welcomes her to class, one of the other kids makes fun of her. Max and Esther are playing on the frozen lake that day when Kate comes out and yells that they can't do that. Daniel plays with a paintball gun and shoots a bird at the same time. When Esther and Max get there, Max is very upset. Esther gives him a big rock and tells him to kill it. She does it for him because he doesn't want to. Esther goes to take a bath after that. Kate goes to her room to put away her laundry, but when she opens a drawer, she finds an old Bible stuck in it. She doesn't notice Esther looking out of the bathroom as she looks through it and finds a picture of a man inside. Daniel's friends make fun of him at school because of Esther, so he knocks over her books. When she goes to get them, a girl from her class finds her Bible, and as they fight over it, it falls to the ground. Esther goes to pick it up, but the girl grabs her choker and calls her a dog. Esther is yelling. Kate will show her how to play the piano later. Then she asks her about what happened at school, but she doesn't want to talk about it. When Esther asks Kate about the baby she lost, Kate gives her a scrapbook that she has already started for her. Kate tells her what happened while she looks at the roses where her ashes were spread. Kate and John make out in the kitchen after dinner when they think the kids are asleep. Esther appears out of nowhere. Kate goes to talk to her about it the next morning. As Esther paints, she says she knows about it and uses the F word. Kate and John talk about it later, and she thinks that they should take her to a therapist. John thinks it's too much to send the child to therapy because he said one bad word. John takes the girls to a park, where one of his neighbors comes over to flirt with him while they are on a swing. Esther's bully also comes to the playground at the same time. Esther is paying attention to both her and John's conversation with the neighbor. The bully is afraid of Esther, so he watches out for her when she goes to the castle to play. She wants to go down a slide, but Esther suddenly pushes her and breaks her leg. Max sees her do it. John tells Esther about it at dinner that night, and Max confirms that the girl did fall. Before they eat, both Esther and Max say a prayer. She even understands sign language better than Daniel. He makes her angry and then starts calling her names, but her parents stop him. He walks away, mad and cussing. As a punishment, John locked the door to his tree house. Later, Kate and the girls are at the store when Kate's sister Abigail calls. Esther won't talk to her, but Kate keeps going. She moves to the side and tells her sister Abigail what has been going on, while Max reads her lips and tells Esther what she said. That night, Kate is shocked by how well Esther plays the piano. She asks Esther why she pretended she didn't know how to play, and Esther tells her it was for her own good. That night, Kate and John have a fight about Esther, and the fight gets out of hand. Esther is happy as she hears them from the other room. Sister Abigail comes to the house one day. She talks to Esther's parents about her because she thinks something might be wrong with her. She gives a list of things she might have done in the past, such as hurting other kids. When the girl hears what's going on, she goes to get Max and tells her that she needs help so that the mean woman doesn't take her away. Kate thinks Abigail might be right, but John thinks she's being too dramatic. Kate suggests that they take her to a therapist, and he agrees. Esther tells Max to find the keys to the treehouse, but Max uses them to open John's safe and take out a gun. She takes out all but one of the bullets from the revolver. She points it at Max, which is very scary for her. As Abigail drives away in her car, Esther takes Max to a bridge and tells her they will scare Abigail so much that she won't want to come back. As the car comes closer, she pushes Max into the street. Abigail almost hits the girl, spins the car around, and crashes it. When Esther hits Max with a hammer, Abigail finds Max crying. She tells Max that she needs his help to get Abigail off the road. Even though they roll her down, she is still alive, so Esther kills her with a hammer. Esther hides her bloody clothes and the hammer in the treehouse, where the two of them go. She tells Max that if she helps her, they'll throw her in jail too. Then Esther tells her, "I love you." Daniel sees them get out of the treehouse, but Esther also sees Daniel. She comes into his room that night with a scalpel and tells him not to say anything. The boy urinates. John and Kate take Esther to see Browning. While Esther waits outside, Browning talks to John and Kate about Esther. The therapist says that the girl is fine and that Kate is the problem, not the girl. She thinks that Kate doesn't think she's a good mother and is taking it out on Esther. John understands what she is saying. When they get back home, the orphanage calls Kate to tell her that her sister Abigail hasn't been back since the day before. The police search for her and find her body where Esther left it. A police officer is seen talking to Kate and John and telling them that they don't know who did it. Esther is in her room switching the light of her aquarium on and off, showing a gruesome painting she has made of the house and the family. Kate looks online for information about kids who are acting out and shows John what she finds. He tells her again that he doesn't agree with her, and she tells him that she won't be seeing Dr. Browning anymore. Kate is worried about who Esther is and says she will talk to Esther's orphanage in Russia. When she calls, she learns that there are no records of her before she came to the United States. The next day, John goes to Esther's house to wake her up so he can take her to the dentist. When she says she doesn't want to go, he says he'll make another appointment. They spend the day painting together, and at the end of the day, Esther tells him that she doesn't think Kate likes her. Kate is taking the other kids to school and asks them about her as she does so. People tell lies and say that she has never done anything wrong. That night, Esther comes into the kitchen to tell Kate that she has a gift for her. She gives her a bucket of roses that she picked from the spot where Kate's daughter's ashes were spread. Kate gets angry and tries to grab her, but John says it was his fault. Esther goes to the garage that night and breaks her hand. When she gets back to bed, she calls for John and says that her arm hurts. When he checks it, he sees that it has been broken. When Kate comes in, they just got back from the doctor, and he's putting her to bed. He talks to her, and she says that she didn't hold her that hard. She goes to a liquor store after that and buys 2 bottles of wine. She gets a little tipsy, but she pours the rest of the open bottle of wine down the drain. The next morning, Kate takes the kids to school. When Daniel gets out of the car, his bag falls apart, so when Kate goes to help him, Esther puts the car in drive with Max still inside. Kate chases after the car until the snow finally stops it. That night, Dr. Browning comes to their house. Kate swears that she put the car in park and that Max is covering for Esther, but Dr. Browning doesn't believe her. John takes her to the second bottle of wine that Esther found. The therapist tells her that she has a spot for her in a rehab center, but Kate tells them her side of the story about the wine. People don't believe her stories about the wine and the accident. John thinks she's being manipulative, so he gives her a week to go to rehab or he'll leave and take the kids. Esther tells Max that if her mom tells on her, she will shoot her. Later, Daniel goes to Max's room, where she tells him about Abigail and the treehouse. Esther hears him say that he will get the things from the treehouse. Kate sneaks into Max's room in the middle of the night. Esther turns on the light all of a sudden. They talk back and forth, but Esther shows her the diary she's been keeping to let her know she's read it. She tries to make her mad, but Kate doesn't give in. The next day, Kate calls the orphanage again. When she doesn't get any answers, she goes to get Esther's Bible. She finds it hidden in a stuffed animal and opens it up to find pictures of men. When she sees the words Saarinen Institute, she goes online right away to find out what they mean. She calls the number she finds, and the person who answers tells her that the institute is not an orphanage but a mental hospital. Daniel, on the other hand, sneaks out of the house to go get the things from the treehouse. Esther goes with him, pours fuel over the evidence, lights it, and then keeps pouring fuel over Daniel. She locks him in the treehouse, which is on fire. He calls his mom, but she is too busy looking into Esther to come. Daniel climbs up on the roof and yells for help. He lands on a wooden beam, but as Esther watches, he slips and falls to the ground. All of a sudden, Kate sees the fire as Esther puts a rock on top of Daniel to kill him. Max shoves her away, and before she can do anything else, Kate shows up. Daniel is alive. They are all in the hospital when the doctor comes in and tells them that he has a serious neck injury and might not remember what happened. That makes Esther nervous. Kate tells John what she found out about Esther, but he's still not sure. Esther goes to Daniel's room while they fight. Max sees what is happening and goes after her. Max goes to get her parents while Esther starts smothering Daniel with his pillow. When Daniel's room alarm goes off, the doctors rush in to help him. Esther runs into Kate, and Kate slaps her. Orderlies grab her and sedate her. She misses a call that was very important. Later, Kate wakes up and immediately asks about Daniel. She begs John not to let Esther come near Max while she is in the hospital for the night. Max takes off her hearing aid at night, and her dad puts her to bed. When she says good night, Esther comes in and grabs the help. John goes downstairs and gets drunk in the living room. Esther goes downstairs dressed like an adult and sits down next to John, who has no idea what's going on. Esther tries to kiss him, but he pulls away. He tells her that he doesn't love her as much as he and Kate do. John tells her to go to her room, but she tells him not to treat her like a child. He says that he will call the orphanage about her tomorrow. Esther goes into her room and starts to cry. At the same time, a doctor at the Sarn Institute calls Kate. He sees Esther and tells her to get her family out of the house and call the police. He tells her that Esther isn't a little girl, but that she has some kind of hormone disorder that makes her look like a child. She is actually a grown-up woman. Esther was one of the most violent patients in the hospital, and when she fought against her restraints, they left scars on her hands and neck. Kate is told by the doctor that she has killed at least 7 people. Kate is in a hurry to get home because she doesn't know how she fooled them. Back at home, Esther trashes her room and takes off all the makeup she was wearing to hide the fact that she's not a child. John goes to check on her and finds her paintings all over the walls. Kate calls him as she drives home, but before he can answer, the power goes out in the house. She calls for help. Esther stabs John when he finds a light and starts to look around the house. He can't move, but he's still alive, so she keeps stabbing him until he dies. When Max sees her, she chases after him. Kate is going so fast toward the house that she crashes into it and goes upstairs right away. She finds John, then finds out that Max is in trouble and goes looking for her. She looks in her room but can't find her, so she goes to the bathroom. Esther shoots her out of the blue. Kate hides in her bedroom, but Esther doesn't find her there because she's hiding outside the window. Max hides in the garden, and from the glass roof, Kate can see Esther coming to get her. Esther fires again at her, then finds Max and fires at her as well. Kate breaks the glass roof and falls on top of Esther, letting Max get away. Max wakes Kate up right away. She takes the gun and picks her up, but she doesn't pick up Esther. She goes into the woods. When the police come to the house and go inside, Esther is not there. She grabbed a knife and ran after Kate and Max. They both fall onto the frozen lake and fight, with Esther chasing Kate relentlessly. Max takes the gun and fires it, which breaks the ice. Both of them fall inside and fight until Esther is knocked out by Kate. Esther grabs her again as she's climbing out and begs her not to let her die, but Kate kicks her back into the lake. That was all from the video. I hope you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, turn on notifications, and like the video to help the channel. Thanks for watching.